Welcome! In front of me I have the new HUAWEI Pura 80 Ultra, and I will be going over unboxing along with a, quick look at the device, its specifications, feature set, and probably most importantly, because that's the most insane one, it's going to be the price tag. And yeah, I'm gonna get to decent rant about that one, I'm pretty sure. Now, I want to start off by saying that I have a suspicion that these devices, meaning HUAWEI, have a bit more compelling price, for instance in China where they're being sold. Something tells me that things like import fees and whatever are completely making this device into a shit show, and just something that I would never recommend anyone, just because the price that they want is now exceeding the most expensive devices on the market from the biggest companies. So it's literally not worth it. But let's get into it by opening it up. Hopefully for the price there is a charger, because the Pro definitely didn't have one. Now this is twice as big of a package, so let's hope that at least there's a charger. There we go. I love this cutout right here, so it can accommodate this like, holy shit, that is it's not a camera bump anymore. It's a camera mountain. Okay, anyway, let's just set it to the side. The packaging right here, I love the angle of it. And we get... Are you kidding me? No charger? You've got to be fucking clowning here. Okay, so we have a case. The previous one also did, but this one has a little bit of a design to it. The Pro version of it has a plastic one. I'm pretty sure this is also plastic, but it was primarily just clear plastic with a little bit of a frosting in this area right here. Now this is actually looking more like a designed one. And then we get our paperwork with the energy rating of about 41 hours of usage. Cool. So the same one as the Pro. And then we get a Type-C to Type-C cable right here. 6 amps. Anyway, drop that back in here. Actually, wait, before I drop it in here. Nope, there is no charger. Amazing. You have got to be shitting me here. You must be absolutely insane, HUAWEI. Okay, so let's pop this on the device, just because honestly, not the biggest fan of this color. So at least I can mask it a little bit. And wow, look at that. It's an absolute camera island right here. So the thickness of this device, can't really say that it's small, considering yeah, this is the thickness of a laptop, and not even a thin one. Okay, so talking about the display, as that's going to be something that you're going to be looking at almost every time. So come on, turn on. Chop chop. There we go. So in a second, once it actually boots up, you will be able to see the 6.8 inches size display with a resolution of 1276 by 2848 pixels. That's a LTPO OLED display, 1 billion colors, HDR vivid, 120 Hz refresh rate, and a 1440 Hz pull rate for the display, so it's super responsive. But don't get it twisted in here. My finger is moving faster than the display, and that's just because of the shitty design of HUAWEI's UI. So the bubble needs to have a little bit of a wobble, and that needs a delay. So it literally removes the need to have a high pull rate for your display when your UI seems like it's lagging behind. Now, in terms of brightness, we're looking at 3000 nits of peak brightness, which is good. Another thing is we are looking at a 89.7% screen to body ratio, 459 pixels per inch, Kunlun 2 glass right here. It also gives me, like, there's another option, which is a second generation crystal armor Kunlun glass, MASH level 4. Anyway, another thing to mention is the display right here comes with a pre-applied screen protector, so that's neat. I like that. And let's quickly go through the setup just so we can see how the cameras look like. I want to point out, for a smart device, it's absolutely effing stupid, considering it's forcing me to connect to Wi-Fi. Now, I might be insane here, but I thought that the point of a fucking setup right here is so I can set it up the way I want to, not the way Winnie the Pooh from China wants me to. Now, I guess I must be absolutely batshit crazy to think about setup as something that is designed for me nowadays. So anyway, once we connect to this piece of shit network, we can continue on. And we can skip basically everything else, just not the, not the thing that I actually wanted to skip. Thanks. Now, Huawei ID we can actually skip, though it's hidden, so I'm going to click right here, maybe later, leave, and, oh, no, you're not giving this bullshit here. Piss off. No. Tracking right here for ads. Piss off. There we go. If you want to give me relevant ads, you can pay for the data to know what the relevant things are, like everyone else does. We're gonna basically select later for everything, update manually, don't enable, setup, finish. Come on, deselect everything, we don't need this trash. I may receive Are you fucking kidding me? You want to give me app recommendations? So basically you want to give me ads when a device costs as much as this piece of shit. Are you insane? Fuck off. Literally. Oh my god. Wow. And they had the audacity to then put that on while you're going to the setup. That is a... Wow, this is the biggest middle finger I have ever seen. Jesus. Now, this is probably the most absurd kind of price I have ever seen on a phone, and the more insulting thing is the price for this. Like, the fact that they want to give you ads on a device that costs $2,000. That is insane. Anyway, let's continue on. So, apart from the display, probably the only standout feature for this phone will be the cameras. So these cameras right here, we're looking at a 50 megapixel, 1.6 to 4.0 aperture, 23mm wide lens, which will be the one right here. You can kind of see it because it has this kind of like aperture thingy thing. I don't know how to call it, to be honest. It's basically a shutter. It can be closed or opened a little bit, which is going to be super hard to kind of showcase this, to be completely honest. As for God's sakes, I cannot get the light to be kind of showing correctly. Let's try it this way. Oh, there we go. I just need to overblow the hell out of everything. So you can see it right here. You have this kind of like weird hexagonal shape around the lens. That's the variable aperture. So there we go. So that's one of the, I guess, standout features for the cameras right here. So it can automatically or manually define how much light will be entering the sensor, giving you a bit more control over it. So that's the camera number one. Now, camera number two will be the 50 megapixel 2.4 aperture 83mm periscope telephoto, which is this behemoth right here. And we also have a 12.5 megapixel 3.6 aperture periscope, which is also part of one of those. I'm not exactly sure which one. As you can see, we have kind of like 2 perforations right here for cameras. I'm not sure which one is which, to be frank with you. And lastly, we have a 40 megapixel 2.2 aperture 13 millimeter ultra wide. The one right here, the least impressive one. So those are the cameras, and we can do obviously 4K 60 right here. 1080p goes up to 960 frames, though that will be a slow motion one. And then at the front we have a 13 megapixel ultra wide lens that also does 4K 60. Again, decent for selfie, but for like nearly $2,000 or I think $2,000, having a 13 megapixel selfie is just kind of like already crap. If this is the only thing you got going for your phone, why isn't this another 50 megapixel, or at least 32 like other devices have? And, like, any logical reason here? Because I sure as shit can't find one. So anyway, that's basically the cameras right here. They will be the standout feature of this phone. And one thing that I also want to point out, well, I'm gonna open this up. Let's just agree to every spyware. If we go into videos, we have a pretty strong bokeh effect right here. We can also do the 8K, or not 8K, sorry, 4K 60. There we go. That's max. So let me just wipe this down. There we go. And I'm gonna just move this and give you kind of like a preview of what we're gonna be looking at. Well, that was interesting. Let me just okay, this time around nothing happened. Okay, so let's know later. You don't need to update anything. Let's turn off Wi-Fi. So there we go. Here's the recording, and pay attention to the background. Like, it's super, and I really mean super blurry. Now, one thing that is good is the definition between the foreground and the background. So if I zoom into this, you can see that each one of these fake leaves is very defined. Like, it separates it from background pretty well. The reason I'm pointing that out is because I am very certain that this isn't a real bokeh effect. It is too strong, considering that literally there is like 10 centimeters to what's behind. This kind of bokeh you get when things are much further away, not literally 10 centimeters away. Let me maybe bring up brightness a little bit. There we go. It could be a little bit better. So you can see right here, very good separation, even in playback. So there we go. So moving on, let's now move on to the weakest part of this device. Considering it's a flagship, it's very weak. So the device comes with, number one, 5170 mAh battery. It's a Chinese phone, right? I mean, it's Huawei. It has obviously competition from Xiaomi, which also is being sold globally, unlike this is almost sold globally, but I guess both of them are kind of competing in the same kind of way from the same place. Now, the reason I'm pointing that out is because Xiaomi has the goals to release a phone that is actually worth the money. That would be the 17 Pro Max, as an example, the highest end that they're going to be releasing in September. So supposedly it's already released. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's not here because I can't buy it here, so it doesn't really matter. So maybe it's just released in China so far. I don't know. I can't access it right here, and I don't live in China to know this. But the reason I'm pointing that out is because this device will definitely be way more affordable. Even though it's literally the most premium phone that they will be offering, it's I can be literally safe assuming that it will never even come close to this price right here. And it comes with a 7,500 milliamp hour battery, 50 watts wireless charging, along with 100 watts wired charging. A new Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5. So not the same one that, for instance, Samsung have, but the newer version of that. Absolutely like flagship processor. So it's a stupidly fast processor. And on top of that, we have triple 50 megapixel cameras, wide, periscope, telephoto, and ultra wide. And you can record at 8K 30 frames and 4K up to 120, though I think that might be a slow motion. And also you have a selfie with 50 megapixels. So just a little bit of a kind of rundown of what you get in terms of price differences. And on GSM Arena, they're stating that this device will cost about 720 euros. I don't think it will. I think it will be more expensive than this. But they also thought that the Pro version of this phone right here cost 800 euros, while costing 1,600 or 1,400 euros and $1,600. So they're just a little bit off, like nearly double the price. But hey, they got the spirit, and most of the information is accurate anyway. So that being said, very small battery, all things considered, when basically the competition from their own backyard can offer 7,500 milliamps at nearly the same kind of phone size. And this one, like I mentioned, also charges at 100 watts wired, and also, surprisingly, very good, 80 watts wireless charging. Now, 80 watts is outperforming Samsung by nearly double the speed of what they offer with a cable. Shit. If I take my phone into consideration, my phone charges at about a third of the speed with a cable. And if we consider cable to cable, that is more than 1/4. Like basically 4 times faster charging compared to what I have right here. So massive massive charging speed right here for this phone. Absolute W. I don't want to take that away, as that's kind of rare for this phone. Anyway, moving on. We have 16 gigabytes of RAM and half a terabyte of storage, and you can get it up to 1 terabyte of storage with the second option. So you have only 2 options. Now, additionally, there is no expandable storage right here, even though this is Huawei and they have their own proprietary storage type. Not sure why this was so difficult to say. That they call nano memory. That was, for instance, present on the Mate 20 Pro. Here, we don't have that. So this is a SIM tray, and this looks to be a SIM tray. Now this one is actually labeled as a SIM. This one has no label. And if this does support nano memory, then GSM Arena isn't stating it. But I also don't have a nano memory to pop in here just to double check this, as nano memory is literally the same exact size as a SIM card. So it could be, could be that this device uses it, but I can't check it. But I know that before on a Mate 20 Pro, when their tray was designed also to utilize nano memory, you would have NM/SIM on there to imply that it supports the nano memory, their proprietary storage. But nothing like that visible here. Okay, so moving on to the probably most important portion, it's going to be the processor. And boy, oh boy, do I have a lot to say right here. So you better prep yourself. You might want to sit down, considering this device costs nearly $2,000. This piece of shit had the audacity to charge this much for a phone that comes with a Kirin 9020. Now, to go in depth into this garbage-ass processor is basically equivalent to a mid-range processor, if even that. I'm gonna pull something up. I want to double check something, because I can speak, but I could be incorrect. And you know what? At $2,000 freaking dollars, it's best that I won't be. I want to be pretty certain about this. So let's search for let's see. That's going to be a very interesting comparison. Wow. Literally wow. Holy shit, that is what I'm looking at is oh wow. Oh boy, that is comical. That is peak comedy. Wow. Okay. You know what? Considering this is coming at a price tag of a more than flagship price, like shit, a Fold from Samsung costs less than this device. They want more than Samsung wants for their already overpriced Samsung Fold, the newest one. So with that in mind, I should be comparing it to probably the top of the top, right? The Fold. But you know what? I'm not gonna do that. What instead I'm gonna compare it to is the Nothing Phone CMF Phone 2 Pro. I'm gonna only compare it in terms of processing power, as this phone obviously has advantage in camera department. That's literally what it's designed for. But it's also a phone that's supposed to do other things, not just camera. If you want a good camera, buy a DSLR, not this. So with that in mind, you can get a dedicated camera that will be better, have also changeable lenses and all that stuff for less than this. So it's only fair that I compare it in terms of processing power, because other devices can also take photos, just not as good one as this. So the reason I picked the CMF Phone 2 Pro is because it literally costs 10% of this phone. So at 10%, and this will be absolutely like comical, at 10% of the price, that CMF Phone 2 Pro has start off maybe slow, you know, just so you don't get like dizzy from this. In multi-call performance, it gets 112% over. Oh wait, sorry, not this one. Okay, slow. That was a actual Snapdragon. So that CMF phone has a Dimensity set. Oh, okay. Almost screwed that up. I'm actually looking at a wrong processor right now. For some reason, I typed in something else than what I got. Awesome, I love it. Bear with me while I try to find what I was actually looking for, which is the 7300. Oh, for God's sakes, where's a... Okay. Okay, so this is actually not that bad. If I look at it from a perspective of the processor I was looking at. Now, let me just quickly double check something else, considering we do have different specifications right here. And I would really like to be able to compare it to... Huh. Okay, so it looks like this is the only place that actually has different different information, which, you know what, it is probably would be the best to have my own benchmarks, but as a first kind of glance, I will give you both of the sides of what I found. So let's bring up the Flagship. This device comes out at this price, so you know, I forgo the CMF phone, screw that. We're looking at phones that come with the Flagship processors, like the Samsung Fold, right? It's about the same price, so it's best that we do that. So basically, if we look at this from this perspective, in Antutu benchmarks, the 9020 gets apparently, what is that, 1,200,000, almost 50,000 score. I'm just rounding it up as it's going to be easier. Versus the not even listed Snapdragon. Huh? Wait a minute. Okay, never mind. That is still fucking slow as hell. Wow. Okay, so I was just kind of looking at it incorrectly, but this processor, if you compare it to the flagship, is slower, like by a significant margin. And just to give you the actual numbers that are pulled from nanoreview.net when comparing it to the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 4, which is the one that the Samsung S25s along with the Fold come with, to this one, which came half a year later. This actually processor, just to point that out, has been released over a year ago, or about a year ago. So this is not a new processor in a new device, just so you know. And Kirin is made by Huawei. So they made a overpriced device with their own processor, and they didn't even have the audacity to make a new version of that processor that would be faster for the current freaking year. Now, with that in mind, I will hold no punches. Snapdragon literally just completely clobbers this processor into the ground in everything. In terms of, let's just go Antutu 10 benchmarks, we're looking at measly 118% increase in performance for the Snapdragon 8 Elite. So it's over double the speed of this with a score that is 2,721,000, almost 22,000 score compared to the 1,200,000 and nearly 50. So it's absolute like shit show right here. And then if we move over to the Geekbench 6 scores, in a single performance, Snapdragon just gets a measly 143% increase in performance, so 2.5 times faster, great. While in multi-score, it gets 212%, so just over 2 times faster. And where the biggest insult shows up is in the GPU performance. If you like playing games, well, you sure shit won't be doing on this phone for $2,000 freaking dollars, because 8 Elite at a cheaper price tag with a bigger screen that would be on a Fold, well, it's only 4.5 times faster. 449% increase in GPU performance over what we have right here. It's absolute insanity. So this phone, if it costs cheaper in China, then that's good for you. But for the rest of the world, where it comes at nearly €2,000 or $2,000 price tag, it's an absolute insult. Like, your money, I would have more joy burning it rather than giving it to Huawei for just the sheer audacity to release a phone at this price range. It's insane. It's insulting. Now, the reason I'm focusing so much on the processor is because the only good standout feature here is the camera. And camera is not going to be worth this much. And it's also not good enough for me to justify buying this phone over a dedicated actual camera with, replaceable lenses, removable one with variable aperture rates, and all kinds of different things. It's much more versatile. And considering they're basically charging you this much for a phone that's supposedly designed for this, while giving you something that is just barely faster than, or a little bit faster than, for instance, a mid-range device that comes at a tenth of the price of this, it just leaves a sour taste in my mouth. I prefer to have a camera that will last me longer and work better than what this will. And when comparing it to phones, as it is a phone, it absolutely falls flat on its face and offers almost no justifiable reason to pick this over a little bit more inferior camera phone that will basically completely clobber this in every other aspect. Considering this is not coming with Google Play services whatsoever, some that might be benefit. It's still gathering data, don't worry. It's just instead of US and Google, it's now Winnie the Pooh in China. So with that in mind, it's still gathering data, so you don't really have privacy right here. It costs a freaking astronomical amount and comes with a processor that I could best describe as a mid-range for $2,000. Yeah, I think the idea that if you want a good phone that takes good photos, you might be picking a iPhone, I think never stood better than right here. if you want a phone that takes good photos, videos, and also works well, go for an iPhone. Shit, why limit yourself? Buy 2 iPhones. You can definitely afford it. I mean, this thing costs nearly $2,000. You can buy one and either have it as a spare if you get annoyed and toss one or lose it, or hell, you can do what Tim Cook tells you to and just buy your mom an iPhone. Now, before I found it as an insult, considering some dipshit that is already basically a billionaire wants you to buy your mom an iPhone like you're shitting money. But then this device came along, costing double the price basically, and offering less than that of an iPhone. And in terms of cameras, literally iPhone has one key demographic that it needs to cater to, which is women that like to take photos. So it sure should be better doing that correctly, otherwise they're losing their key audience. So with that in mind, these phones might not have on paper as good of a camera as this one, but in terms of actual quality of the photos and how they look, it's appealing. That's why a lot of people go for that over some other ones like Samsung, which is a bit more artificial looking nowadays. And for that price, you can buy 2 iPhones. If you ever needed to feel like a rich baller instead of a brokey, you can buy literally 2 iPhones and carry one in each pocket, or buy one for your mother, or just have one in case that one breaks, or shit, you can buy next year another one and not even sell this one or whatever. The possibilities here are endless when you're spending $2,000 on a device. So do that instead of buying this phone. Anyway, if you found this video helpful or funny, as I'm not really taking this too seriously. I mean, neither should you for $2,000. The only thing I am taking seriously here is the price tag. But if you found this video funny, helpful, anything like that, don't forget to smash like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.